What's up, guys? I'm back with a review on Black Widow. I just went and saw this yesterday, and I right after I got out of the movie, I literally sat down. I did a review on it, put it together, edited it, said, "All right, this is it." But I thought about it a little more today when I went to work, and I kind of took the blinders off for a second, after the honeymoon phase of the movie and everything like that, and I like it a lot, and I will say it's a cool movie. It's a really cool movie. It does what it's supposed to do, and what it's supposed to do is just be kind of a filler, something to kind of just hold us over until the next thing. Something just kind of like an untold story in between. I thought it did good from that aspect. But I'll get into a little later about like what I really didn't like about the movie. But I will start with what I did like. I like that we're back in theaters to see MCU movies. I'm really really happy that we're back into theaters finally. For like it almost doesn't feel. I know theaters have been open since like Tenet and stuff came out, but like it hasn't felt official until like a Marvel movie comes out almost. Another just kind of a brief rundown of the movie. It's going to be about Black Widow, obviously. It's going to give us more of a background on it kind of gives us a little bit of her childhood. It shows us her parents and her little sister and everything like that. It gives us a little background on where she came from and, just kind of where she grew up and all that stuff. I know we already know about how she's kind of like a kind of a Russian spy sort of thing, you know what I mean? But we haven't really gotten like the full picture of what she's been up to, what she was doing in between Civil War and Infinity War, to be exact. And that's what this movie's about. It's pretty much majority of it is about what she's doing in between Civil War and Infinity War, which is cool. It's like I said, it's a cool untold story. Just a brief note. If you haven't seen Endgame, what are you doing? What are you doing? But I digress. So if you haven't seen Endgame, I would just stop watching this because I'm going to spoil a little bit of like what happens in that movie. And now, so Black Widow dies in Endgame. She completely dies. And that's kind of like one of the things I had an issue with this movie was like, how are they going to do this movie and like make it like an origin story type movie almost, but like she dies. So it's almost like the audience doesn't really care about what happens in this movie. They did well at making us care a little bit about it. Scarlett Johansson does a really good job at kind of just putting the emotion out there, making you interested almost. She's the best in this movie, honestly. Obviously, she's the main character, so she kind of has to be, but she's very emotional. Like I said, it's right after Civil War, so she's on the run. She does well. She does really well. I also thought David Harbour did really well as Red Guardian. That was another problem I had with the movie, though, was that Red Guardian didn't really get any. He didn't get anything good happen to him in the movie. Like he didn't get any redemption, nothing. He's kind of like this Mr. Incredible guy where he tells all these war stories about how he fought Captain America and all this stuff, and he's kind of fun. He's funny. He's the comic relief of the movie, and they almost kind of made him too much of the comic relief of the movie, and they didn't really give him that much action whatsoever. For being a super soldier that can literally like go toe to toe with Captain America, like why didn't we see him do crazy shit? We didn't really get to see much of him doing any action whatsoever, and that kind of sucked. And that's kind of the downfall with this movie in general, is that a lot of the action in this movie, there's a lot of action, but it's almost like Michael Bay action where it's just explosions everywhere, shock value stuff. There's not a lot of like, and that sucks because I was comparing this movie a lot to Winter Soldier when I was watching it originally, and I absolutely loved Winter Soldier. I thought it was one of the best action movies the MCU has produced, to be honest with you. The action was really gritty. It was really hands-on. It was really close up. It was just really fluid. This movie, though, like, for example, there's a part in this movie where I'm sure you've seen it in the trailer, where Black Widow jumps out of a helicopter and she's on, like, this sky bridge fighting a bunch of guards at this prison that they're at, and I won't spoil why they're there. But it's such a big scene. You can feel it. It's her big moment of like, I'm Black Widow and I'm about to fuck some people up. And it kind of just keeps cutting away from her while she's doing her thing. And she's not really doing anything, it seems like. Every time it cuts back to her, she's like on the radio, like talking to her sister or something about what the plan is and stuff. And it's just like, there's so many anticlimactic scenes in this movie. That's the worst part, in my opinion, about this movie. There's a lot of big explosion type stuff happening, but there's not a lot of like hand-to-hand combat and cool choreography like you'd want to see from a Black Widow movie. And it took me like a day or so to think about that a little more, but there was a lot of action in this movie. Every like 4 minutes there was like action. There was something going on. They talk for a second, action. And I love that. I love when that happens, but I also need to have good action when it happens. And it was kind of just a lot of explosions, like I said, not enough like actual gritty combat. That kind of brings me to Taskmaster, who's the bad guy in this movie. I love Taskmaster. He's awesome. Well, the character's awesome. They kind of didn't do that well with Taskmaster. I felt like it was every time Taskmaster came on screen, I was like, oh, cool, and then it was underwhelming. It was kind of just like, oh, whatever. And the first couple times you see Taskmaster, it's kind of cool. You're like, damn, this fucking guy's a badass. And then it just, as the movie goes on, you get less and less and less and less of that, and it kind of is just like, ugh, like if you're gonna do an action scene every 5 minutes of this movie, at least make the action really gritty and cool. Don't just do a bunch of explosions and then that's it. You know what I mean? That's not action to me. That's just shock value. But it's a weird situation with this movie because I did like the movie. I did. I mean, it was really plot holey and convoluted at times, but it kept my attention. It really did. It kept my attention. And it's like 2 hours and like 10 minutes, I think. It's a pretty long movie. But I the whole time I was watching it, like I said, it's a weird movie. Like the whole time I was watching it, I didn't really want it to end. But at the same time, I was kind of like, damn, this is kind of not as good as it could be. And that could be the amount of delays that they had because of COVID and stuff like that. I don't really know. But I liked this movie, but I didn't love this movie. This movie kind of, like, when I exited the theater, the one gripe I had with it, like, while I was in the honeymoon stage, was that it felt kind of shoehorned in. It felt like it was just like, let's just do a cool girl team-up Black Widow movie. And that's fine. I love Black Widow. I think that's cool that they did a Black Widow movie, but the circumstances it was under, it just didn't really feel that amazing. I'm going to spoil it a little bit. There's no cameos from any other characters. They talk about like Captain America, Iron Man. They mention Hawkeye a lot of times. That's cool. A lot of cool fan service when it comes to that stuff. If you pay attention to everything, that's really cool. There's just scenes in this movie that don't really make sense pacing wise. Like, for instance, when she first meets her sister, and I'm sure you've seen it in the preview where they're like fighting in like the hotel room or whatever. There's no reason for them to be fighting. They haven't seen each other in like 20 years, but they know who each other are. Like as soon as Black Widow walks into the house, she's got her gun out, and the sister, you can hear her. She's like, "I know you're here." Like they know like each other's tactics because they train together, obviously. But they just start having a fight, like combat. And it's like, you're supposed to just blame it on, oh, they haven't seen each other in a long time. There's a lot of animosity. But there isn't a lot of animosity because they're chill as hell after that. Like, they're always chill the whole time after that. Like, they're joking with each other and shit. Like, it's just, a lot of the pacing in this movie just didn't really make sense. But, like I said, it's action every, like, 5 minutes. It's kind of, I got a lot of like Mission Impossible vibes from this movie, and I like Mission Impossible a lot, and I do think there's good action in Mission Impossible, but I think the action in Mission Impossible is a lot of just like stylish shit, like Tom Cruise, pulling 2 machine guns out while he's like drifting on a fucking motorcycle type shit. Like it was a lot of that, a lot of padding almost. But again, I did like the movie. It wasn't a bad movie. I'd watch it again. I really would. Now, would I pay $16 to see it in IMAX again? No. Would I pay $10 to see it in theaters again? No. But I mean, I guess I would rent this movie if it's my first time watching from Iron Man all the way to Endgame. This movie's gonna definitely be before I watch Endgame this time. And that was another problem. I felt like this movie actually would have been better off being made like after Civil War came out. Like it would have been a lot better. We would have had a lot more context. There's just not a lot about this movie that like pushed anything forward. And obviously she dies later on, so like it's not going to, but like that almost makes the movie kind of pointless for me, just in my opinion. But I mean, you take it or leave it. Scarlett Johansson's fucking awesome. David Harbour was awesome in it. The mom and the sister, I don't remember. The sister's got a weird name in real life, but like I like her. Like I liked everybody in this movie. I did. I even liked the bad guy, the Draco guy. I don't remember what his name is. Before I forget, another cool thing this movie did was it did give us a little bit of, obviously it's going to be about what Black Widow's been doing and where she came from more. It's more of a kind of an origin story without being an origin story. You know, you already know who she is. You already kind of know a little bit of her background. But you know, there were things that were mentioned in all the MCU movies, like the Budapest stuff, Budapest, whatever, all the stuff that she did with Hawkeye. We don't really know to the extent, like we think we know everything that happened between them in Budapest, but we actually don't. There's a lot more stuff that we didn't know about that sets this movie up, and that's kind of cool. I like that a lot. They did a good job with that. They did a good job at like kind of putting a little context into the movie, you know, into the universe a little more. But again, it's kind of fucking useless because she's dead. Like, it doesn't matter. This movie would have been, like I said, better in 2018, 2017. But what are you going to do? You know, it's just another MCU movie, and that's cool. It's great. Like I said, though, like my biggest gripe with this movie was probably the pacing and the lack of stuffing, the lack of like good integrity in the fight scenes. Like that was really my main concern with the movie. I also thought there were scenes that were kind of, I don't know, like I felt like there were scenes that could have been cut out of the movie a little bit. You know, maybe cut down some of the explosion scenes. Maybe, I don't know. It felt like the first hour of the movie, action, and then middle of the movie, it was a lot of family stuff, and I was kind of just like, this is fucking the pacing up a little bit. And then the last half of the movie, or the last like 45, was a little bit of action, but it was also like a spy movie at the same time. So they did okay with that. But there was a lot of just stuff that didn't really need to happen. Like there's a part where there's a face swap that happens. Like they do like a Mission Impossible's face swap, and it's just useless. It's just absolutely useless, and it just happens to make the movie longer. And that's gonna lead me into my final gripe with this movie. Obviously, you go and see an MCU movie, you expect to see an after credit scene. That's just the thing now. That's how it is. This movie has an after credit scene. The after credit scene is probably the most advancing on the story than anything else about this movie. You know, it actually advances the story a little bit after Endgame, but you have to be a Disney Plus subscriber to know what's going on, you know, in that after credit scene pretty much. I mean, you can put two and two together and figure out what's going on, but there's a character in that after credit scene that's literally from Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I'm like halfway through Falcon and Winter Soldier because it's not my favorite show in the world. I'm not like crazy interested in it, you know. I like Loki a lot more than that, let's just say. But you know, we're getting through it, but we haven't even met that character yet, and it almost feels like you have to watch that show to get it. And it's like, okay, like it was one thing to always make everybody go to the theaters to see these movies and make sure they watch every single movie. But now we have to be subscribed to Disney Plus and watch these movies. Like that after credit scene kind of showed that, yeah, you're going to have to get a Disney Plus subscription and you're going to have to watch all those shows to really get every single thing now. And I guess we knew this was coming, but I don't know, man. I just kind of think it's a little bullshit, to be honest with you, but that's just me. They got to get their sales. They got to figure out a way to get people to get Disney Plus and stuff like that, which is whatever. But it just kind of annoyed me that I had to kind of look into it a little bit afterwards. And I felt like with every MCU movie, every single one of them, I felt like I knew what was coming next. Like when I saw the after credit scene, I was like, I know that character. I know these people because I've seen all the old movies or I've read the comics. You know, I knew these things. I didn't know who this lady was because I didn't watch Falcon and Winter Soldier, and that pissed me off. But again, that's my fault, I suppose, but I also feel like it was kind of bullshit at the same time. The after credit scene is okay, though. It's all right. It's not the best one they've ever done, but it's okay. It advances the story a little more after. I think it's actually leading into the Hawkeye show, to be honest with you, but we're going to see. I don't want to spoil a lot of the movie. The end fight scenes, the big climaxes at the end of the movie, for instance, Red Guardian starts fighting Taskmaster, and they fight, but Red Guardian is just getting thrown around the entire time, pretty much. And that's again, none of the characters in this movie have any redemption whatsoever. Like none of them have like a moment where it's like, wow, that makes sense. None of them really have that. Even Black Widow doesn't really have a redemption arc, to be honest with you. It's kind of just, it's just here. You know, it's just a movie that's there. And that in my opinion is a shoehorned in movie, and that sucks. But before this video gets out of hand, I don't want to spoil anymore, because I will spoil more shit if I keep talking. I'm gonna give it originally my first review, I was very optimistic about this movie. I was very nice. My first review I did, I felt like I was a lot nicer than I am in this one. My original review, I gave it an 8 out of 10. After thinking about it a little bit more and considering the movie as a whole, I'm gonna give it like a 6.5 out of 10. And I know that might sound bad, but that's pretty good on my scale, to be honest with you. That's still worth watching. I just wouldn't go to theaters for this movie. It's not worth the theater visit, mainly because it's not worth anything to the MCU besides just a untold story. That's really it. But if you've seen the movie and you disagree with me, please comment. Please say something about it. You know, message me about it, something. I like to talk about these things. But of course, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you like the video or dislike it. I don't really care what you do, to be honest with you. You can go see this movie in theaters and you could love it. I still want to hear you tell me about it. But either way, I'm going to give it 6.5 out of 10. I thought it was worth watching, but not worth watching right now. You don't, it's not like, it's not a necessity, but it's worth watching. If you want to get back in the theaters and watch something, it's a good movie to just go back and chill and watch. It was a little long. There were a lot of scenes that didn't make sense. There were a lot of things that were kind of just, you know, but all in all, it's a Black Widow movie. It did its job. You know, it's successful. Scarlett Johansson was fantastic. In the first like 30 minutes of the movie, there's like a bunch of zoom in butt shots, and she's got a nice butt, but it's like, Jesus fucking Christ. You know, there's like 3 in the first 30 minutes. That's like 1 every 10 minutes. Jesus Christ. But you know, 6.5. What's up, guys? Thanks again for watching the video. Make sure you throw it a thumbs up if you did like the video. If you didn't, just go ahead and like the video anyway, and make sure you subscribe too, because I do these reviews like all the time. Also, I'm doing a thing right now. If you comment and let me know a movie that you might like, or even if you don't like it that much, I like making fun of bad movies. So throw something in the comments, let me know what you want me to review, and maybe I'll shout you out for it. Thanks again for watching, guys. Have a great day. Drink some water.